My name is Chris Groves, I'm a partner here at Withers, and I'm going to talk to you about the new statutory residence test. It's been published at the end of last week after several years in the waiting, and now gives us a much clearer idea on when individuals will be treated as resident. It's going to apply from the 6th of April next year. Looking at any particular individual set of facts, you might well be able to say that the rules haven't changed, but what we do have is much more clarity as to how they'll be applied. This is going to be very beneficial in terms of advising taxpayers and knowing when they're going to be resident. The new statutory test is going to give us 3 situations which will conclusively show that a taxpayer is non-resident. These will do this by splitting taxpayers up into 3 groups. The first group is people who go to work abroad full-time. In this context, working abroad full-time is defined as 35 hours a week, and that job mustn't require you to be in the UK for more than 20 days. It must also go on for more than 1 full tax year. If you satisfy those criteria, you'll be treated as non-resident. Anyone else who wants to leave the UK and conclusively show that they're not resident here anymore will need to keep their days of presence in the UK down to below 10 in each tax year. Arrivers, by contrast to leavers, are treated slightly more permissively. They can spend up to 45 days in the UK and are still conclusively shown to be non-resident. If you fall outside these categories, there are 5 factors that we looked at to determine whether or not you're treated as resident in the UK. The first of these is where your family live. Family in this context is your spouse, civil partner, your non-married partner, and your minor children. If these are in the UK, that will be 1 factor. The second factor is accessible accommodation. If you have accommodation that is accessible to you in the UK, this will be a 2nd factor. The third factor is employment. If you have what is called substantial employment in the UK, that is a job that requires you to spend more than 45 days a year here, that will be a 3rd factor. The 4th factor is your day count in previous years. If this is more than 90 days, that will be an additional factor that counts towards your residency. Finally, and for leavers only, there will be a 5th factor, which will look at where you spent more time than anywhere else. If that's the UK, again that will be another factor indicating residency. So for each individual, you have to look at their own situation, apply the factors to determine how much time they can spend in the UK. So if we consider a leaver, say someone who is coming out to sell a business and wants to be non-resident when they do, they want to go but their family doesn't. Looking at their factors, the first factor they have is a family in the UK, that's 1. The second factor is accessible accommodation, the family will have a house here, that's 2. The third factor will be that they've spent more than 90 days in the UK in the previous 2 tax years, a 3rd factor. Because they have no employment, there'll be no 4th factor, and we'll assume that they spend more time in their new residency than in the UK. This will mean they have to spend less than 90 days in the UK in order to be shown to be non-resident. By contrast, the position for an arriver is slightly more permissive. If we take a single person who wants to buy a house in the UK and spend some time here without becoming resident, he will have just that 1 factor. This would, on the face of it, allow him to spend up to 183 days in the UK each year. But you have to watch out, because in the 2nd year, he'll also then pass the 90-day test, giving him a 2nd factor that will push his days down to below 120 if he wishes to remain non-resident. If he should ever get married, that would be a 3rd factor, which will push his day count below 90 as well. So in these 2 examples, we can see that while the individual tests may be quite straightforward, actually how they apply is quite intricate, and so individuals still will, in many circumstances, need advice on establishing non-residency or avoiding it in the first place. All the details of how the new test will apply are set out in our stop press, which you can also find on our website. Thank you.